Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. So thank you for coming. We are beginning our second year of the second cycle of the 12-year course at the Bhakti-yoga Academy. So this year we'll be studying basically the same books as the first year, almost, with some exceptions. But this time we'll try to do it in a different way. Srila Prabhupada wanted his followers to study his books. First of all, he wanted his followers to read the books. And reading also, after reading, then you start to study if you are deeply interested in the subject matter. So the first year we are going through the books, Bhagavad-gītā, Nectar of Devotion, Nectar of Instruction, Sri Upanishad, and some others. And this year we'll try to study them in a different way, by different topics. So we used to call this chronological study, the first year, and then thematic study. But then there was a suggestion that the better way to put it is sequential, and then elucidatory. Yeah, you understand? Elucidatory. So, any way you put it, first you're supposed to go through the subject matter, to hear, to listen, to familiarize yourself with it, and then to start to dive deeper in the meaning. And this is what we will try to do this year. This is actually also the Vedic way of presenting knowledge. First, this is the first stage is called Shravana, where you listen from the Guru. You simply listen and try to, of course, you try to understand already the Shravana stage. And then the second level is called Manana, where the disciple is supposed to deeply consider the topic. First to understand what are the topics, and then to consider, to try to understand, and see how this is relevant in his life. And then the third stage is called Nididhyasana. That means when you apply the knowledge, then we get the realization. Just like we're hearing all the time, we're not this body, and often we are just bored by hearing this. But when something happens in our life, we get sick, for example, then we have a chance to practice this knowledge. And I have this experience in my life. I have given many lectures, presentations. Because I'm also, my background is I'm book distributor, so I have spoken many times on this topic to the people on the street, telling them we're not the body. And then when my body starts to deteriorate gradually, then the first reaction is, hey, wait a minute, that's something I was preaching to the choir or preaching to the people. Right? That's something. That's one of the topics of my presentation. But it's not just the topic; it's the reality for all of us. So then we get a chance to practice. We're not the body. For example, in the morning when we well, right around here in Mayapur is not so big problem to take cold shower now. In the winter time will be different. But that's another opportunity to practice. We're not the body. So, Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana. So this elucidatory or thematic study, which we are starting today, of Bhagavad-gītā, it's a unique study guide that we have. Because Srila Prabhupada personally wrote it. It's called Analysis of Bhagavad-gītā. He never finished writing it. He started and then he wrote the outline of it. That's what we have, the outline. And then he started to develop, to elaborate on the first topic of it, and then where he stopped for some reason. So we don't have the whole thing. But we have the outline. And on the basis of this outline, devotees in the past, in the 80s already, in our school, in the Bhakti-yoga Academy, they have prepared a study guide, and our study guide is based on the study guide of the previous authorities. Because we can study thematically on Bhagavad-gītā in many different ways. For example, we can, there are 5 topics of Bhagavad-gītā. This is explained already in the introduction. We could study those, or we could study Bhagavad-gītā according to the first 6 chapters, the middle 6 chapters, and the last 6 chapters, karma, bhakti, and jnana. So many. Well, we could just pick up different topics. We could go through Bhagavad-gītā and pick up the, let's say, the 3 modes of material nature, the soul, God, whatever. But this is not how things are done usually in spiritual circles. We always have to look for the opinion of the opinion, that's the statements of the acharyas, and we should base our study on their presentation, if possible. Like, for example, you know that when you read Prabhupada's books, sometimes in 11th canto, the followers of Srila Prabhupada, or 12th canto, sometimes they quote a verse. No, okay. There is a verse from, let's say, from 11th canto, which Srila Prabhupada did not translate personally in Bhagavatam, but he did translate this verse somewhere else. So they always take the translation of Srila Prabhupada. That's how it goes. So in the same way, following this nice Vaishnava tradition, we will study Bhagavad-gītā according to Srila Prabhupada's study guide. And because it is a topical, thematic study or elucidatory study, first of all, what are the topics? According to Srila Prabhupada and all the previous acharyas, there are 3 main topics. Bhagavad-gītā, Srimad Bhagavatam, all Shastras. And these topics are Sambandha, Abhidheya, and Prayojana. So Sambandha is translated sometimes as relationship. What is the relationship between you and the world? This is the first thing that has to be established. For example, right now, we have a relationship here. What is the relationship between us? If you don't know the relationship between us, we will not act accordingly, and then we will not get the result. So the abhidheya will not be proper, and the prayojana will be also disappointing. First of all, do we have a relationship? Sometimes when you talk to people, tell them hello, hi, and then sometimes they respond, do I know you? In other words, you try to establish a relationship on the spiritual platform. We are all spirit souls, and people refuse. They don't want to have a relationship. because that's the easy way out of the conversation. So we have a relationship as spirit souls. We connected to Krishna, but this is too generic, too broad type of understanding. What exactly is our relationship? This is established in Sambandha. Therefore, people everywhere in the spiritual or mundane world, the spiritual circles or completely materialistic society, they also always try to establish the Sambandha first. This is why, let's say in the army, they have these different ranks, and you can see who is who. Or people try to show off sometimes, like they have certain quality. I was speaking to a woman a long time ago, and she was explaining. She was just becoming a devotee, and she was telling me how whenever she as a woman, she looks another woman how she's dressed. She said immediately, I know what is she showing off. There is something special in her physical body that she wants to flash in front of your eyes. So people are trying to establish Sambandha, the relationship, by showing off their intelligence. They read many books, so they're supposed to be very learned, by presenting themselves as very beautiful. Therefore, people buy fancy cars, one of the main reasons, because they want to establish this type of Sambandha that I'm very important. People try to do this all the time, because if they establish and if they are successful in convincing you in their type of relationship they want to establish, then they can manipulate you. If you play the game with a beautiful person on the street, that he or she is very attractive, she can manipulate you. She can or he can take advantage. So this is what people do all the time. So on the basis of this Sambandha, then it will develop the different types of Abhideya. And Abhideya means what we're going to do now after we have established the Sambandha. We have established that I am higher, I'm more beautiful, I'm more, in any way, I'm something special. And I'm here and you are down there. So what we're going to do later, how our relationship will develop, this is called Abhideya. And what is the goal? Is Prayojana. It's interesting that these are like, theological terms. People don't know these terms. Sometimes devotees don't know. But this is what's happening all the time in our life. It is not some theoretical construct or concept. It is everyday's experience that we all have. We are just not so much aware all the time. I was thinking also that the beginning of the problems in the material world is the improper Sambandha people have. They don't have real Sambandha Gyan, so that means they don't really know what is the relationship first between themselves and then with the big boss, because we are having a it's called Durga. We are living in the material world. Of course, we're in the spiritual world right now, but we live in the Devidam, which means the big boss is Durga Devi, and people don't recognize this. So what happens when you go to your job and this is your boss and you don't recognize that this is the boss? You're not aware. People make these funny YouTube videos sometimes, how the owner of the company or the boss is talking to one of the employees, but the employee is so spaced out that he's not aware this is the boss or the owner of the company. So he makes some blunder, some stupid mistake, or even worse, he's trying to cheat, to take advantage, and then he's fired right away. So that's what people do, because there is no Sambandha Gyan. people, and the beginners in devotional service, we don't recognize the power, the control that the material nature has on us. We constantly deny or defy this control, and then she's punishing us repeatedly by forcing us to take another birth in this material world. Srila Prabhupada, I just read yesterday, there is a nice purport from second canto. Srila Prabhupada explains that this aham mameti principle, I and mine, is very prominent, is the most prominent thing. I and mine means I am the Lord, I am the supreme enjoyer, and mine means I'm the supreme control, and mine means I enjoy everything. This is mine to enjoy. So this is our wrong sambandha gyan that we have. And Srila Prabhupada explains that if the soul is persistingly trying to perpetuate this misconception, then what Krishna does, Krishna allows the soul to go into a dreamlike state, that he dreams that he's the king, he's the Lord, and this is the material existence. And Prabhupada gives an analogy, just like when a foolish child wants to capture the moon, he cannot capture the moon. The moon is too big, it's too far away. Then the parents, sometimes they give the child a mirror, and in the mirror there is the reflection of the moon, so in a sense he got the moon. So this is the material existence of the soul, the conditioned soul. Because of wrong sambandha, knowledge of a relationship, then we end up in a struggle for existence, and the prayojana, so-called prayojana, is suffering and misery. So this is the first topic of the Bhagavad-gītā, thematic study, sambandha gyan. What is the real position of the soul in connection with God and with the material energy? And this is the first part of our study guide. We're going to focus on this now. Then there is second part and third part. The second is the Vidya, third is Prayojana. Okay, so then this analysis on Bhagavad-gītā by Srila Prabhupada contains different lessons. There are three parts: Sambandha, Vidya, and Prayojana. Sambandha part has statistics. This is page 5, if you are still there. The thematic study of Bhagavad-gītā offered to the Bhakti-yoga Academy, found it? Page 5, is based on the analysis of Bhagavad-gītā by Srila Prabhupada. In this analysis, His Divine Grace divides his study of the Gita in 3 sections. Part 1, man's eternal relation with Godhead, Sambandha. Part 2, man's duty toward Godhead, Abhideya. Part 3, man's ultimate necessity and perfection of life, Prayojana. Part 2 is further divided in 2 sections. This is the Abhideya part. Man's duty toward Godhead and the nature of Godhead. So somebody may ask, why the nature of Godhead? This sounds like a topic that has to be dealt with in the Sambandha part. Okay, I can share what I think is the reason for this. First of all, Sambandha includes knowledge about Abhideya and Prayojana. That's one thing. So they are all overlapping, all these 3 topics. But moreover, here in this case, the nature of Godhead is actually very attractive. So it is an impetus for our proper application of Sambandha again. It's additional motivation to serve, to perform our duties, so, because Krishna is very attractive. Okay, so in this sense, it is appropriate that is discussed here in the Abhidheya part. Just like in the Nectar of Devotion, Rupa Goswami, Srila Prabhupada describes how Krishna's qualities are simultaneously, they play the role of Udipan, that means the impetus for the rasa to be manifest, and they also, Krishna's qualities are also part of the personality of Krishna. So they are discussed in two aspects, in two different ways. It's Krishna. Krishna is has such and such transcendental qualities, and at the same time, these qualities are motivating the devotees to render devotional service, to experience their sthāyi bhava and to anubhava, the vyabhichari bhavas, the sattvika bhavas, etc. All of them. So in the same way, in similar way here, the Krishna's qualities are part of Sambandha, but they actually, this Sambandha, this factual knowledge about Godhead is actually a impetus for performing our devotional service. Yes, Tusipu, you want to say something?
Yeah, in the same way of thinking, like if you do something for Krishna, and if he reciprocates in a certain way, actually this becomes impetus for you to continue to serve him. So it's like part of the loving exchange between the devotee and Krishna.
Yeah.
So from this perspective, maybe also part from the Abhidheya.
Yeah.
So devotee is doing something for Krishna, and Krishna is doing something back.
Reciprocating.
And then devotee becomes even more eager to do again something for
Yeah.
Krishna.
Just like Krishna and the gopis is described that there is constant competition who will serve more. Not only the gopis, all the devotees like this. And there is this verse from Chaitanya Charitamrita explaining that Krishna is supremely beautiful, but he is not so beautiful when he is alone. But when he is with the gopis, then he is even more beautiful. His beauty increases, and the beauty of the gopis as well. Alright, so the thematic study. Okay. So then some of the lessons are main points. Adhikaranas. No, we skip this. Okay, part 1 contains 46 lessons. This is the Sambandha part. Part 2 contains 53 lessons. And part 3 contains 3 lessons. So Prayojana is 3 lessons, Sambandha is 46, and Abhidheya is 53. And Abhidheya, these 53 lessons are divided in 2 by Srila Prabhupada. So some of the lessons are main points, Adhikaranas, and some are secondary points, which provide evidence for the main points. Every Adhikarana replies to a doubt, and in turn raises a doubt which is answered in the next Adhikarana. So this part is our own attempt to further elucidate Srila Prabhupada's analysis of Bhagavad-gītā. Prabhupada didn't use Adhikaranas or anything like this. He just wrote the main heading, which is Sambandha, in this case, man's eternal relation with Godhead. And then this one is divided in 46 lessons. So that's it. So what we try to do, we try to see how out of these 46 lessons, some are conveying the main point, and some are explaining, elaborating on these main points. So we have divided these 46 lessons in different parts. So this is what we try to do, to make it easier for understanding. And these main points we call Adhikaranas, following the tradition of our Sampradaya, and the all Vedic schools, they use this term. Just like when you read the Vedanta, the English translation, because you don't read the, unless you know Sanskrit, you don't read the Govinda Bhashya. When you read the Govinda Bhashya, and then I was talking to one of my friends here in Mayapur, he knows Sanskrit well, so he was just reading from the commentaries of the Acharyas from 11th canto, and then I told him, okay, I'll read the commentary. He said, no, you will read the English translation of the commentary. Not the commentary. Commentary is in Sanskrit. So what can I say? So when we read the Govinda Bhashya, then we can see that it is the book is presented in the same way. There are main points which are called Adhikaranas, and then the sutras actually are explaining the main points, and they are divided like this. You know, there are many sutras of Vedanta Sutra, around 500, but there are very much less Adhikaranas there. So we try to follow the same here. Okay, then, because this is the standard way to.
So Adhikarana is something.
Because I want to see the time.
The main title.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, this is the main topic, which often is actually most of the time is just one of the lessons. Or sometimes it's not. Sometimes we have combined one or two lessons and promoted them to the level of Adhikarana, and then the rest of the lessons are explaining this main topic. So, yeah, is it clear what we have done and what we're going to study? So we have the part 1, man's eternal relation with Godhead. This is the Sambandha part. It's divided in 46 lessons, and we have divided these 46 lessons in different groups. Okay, the thematic study opens with a list of the Adhikaranas connected with the Dashamula Tattva. So Dashamula Tattva is a important work by Bhaktivinoda Thakur, where he explains the philosophy of Lord Chaitanya in a nutshell, very condensed form. And again, it follows the Sambandha Vidaya Prayožana principle, as always. So we have connected Srila Prabhupada's analysis to these main points of our philosophy, and you will see how this is done. These Adhikaranas are then presented together with their evidence and the doubts they raise and answer. Next, the relevant questions and answers from Srila Prabhupada's purports are added for further clarification. So, the analysis of Srila Prabhupada is done in, you'll see, maybe you can turn to the table of contents and see. So, there is the Adhikarana 1. So these are lessons 1 to 5. And then it says, the Adhikarana says, all living entities are eternal and subordinate to Godhead. So this is the Adhikarana. And the lessons are, lesson 1, this is what Srila Prabhupada wrote, the constitution of all living entities, and then he gave reference from Bhagavad-gītā, 2:11 to from 11 to 30. So this is where this topic is explained. And then lesson 2, parts and parcels of Godhead. This is 15:7. This is what Prabhupada wrote. Living entities compared with the sun and the sun rays. 13:34. Qualitatively one and the same. 14:2. Krishna begets all living entities in the womb of Mother Nature. 14:3-4. So in the study guide we have looked these purports by Srila Prabhupada, and we have summarized them, extracted the main points, so that when we read the title given by Srila Prabhupada, then we have also the elaboration by Srila Prabhupada from Bhagavad-gītā. So that's simple way this study guide has been prepared. prepared. Okay, so let's go through all this table of content. Then the Adhikarana 2. These are lessons 6 to 15. So Sambandha Gyan means the relationship between Chitta, Chitta and Ishvara. That means the soul, the material nature, and God. So the first part, first Adhikarana, describes the living entities. All living entities are eternal and subordinate to Godhead. Then Adhikarana 2, material nature is subordinate to Godhead. Lesson 6, nature and the living entities are subordinate to the Lord. Lesson 7, Godhead in his impersonal feature is all-pervading, including the material nature and the living entities. Lesson 8, nature means potency. Everything that exists is an emanation of Godhead. Lesson 9, Godhead is omnipotent and therefore he is the master of all potencies, namely the material, spiritual and marginal. Lesson 10, earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intellect and false ego are all products of the material potency. Lesson 11, living entities are products of spiritual potency. Lesson 12, above these two potencies is situated the Almighty Godhead. Lesson 13, as omnipotent, Godhead is manifested in all-pervading impersonal supreme truth, in one manner described. So Krishna has also impersonal aspect. Lesson 14, material nature is non-permanent. Lesson 15, the spiritual nature is permanent. So this is the last lesson of this Adhikarana. And then Adhikarana 3, lessons 16 to 20. The living entity is born of spiritual nature, but it has the tendency to enjoy material nature. So first, in Adhikarana 1, the general nature of the soul has been explained. That is, it's spiritual, eternal part of Krishna. And now, in this Adhikarana 3, it is it's given additional information about the living entity. Is that it can be conditioned by matter, which is very peculiar, very, Sri Prabhupada calls this in one purport, very uncomfortable, strange situation of the soul, for the soul, that he's conditioned by matter. It normally should not supposed to happen like this. Okay, the living entity is born of spiritual nature, but it has the tendency to enjoy material nature. Here is our drama in our life. We are spiritual, but somehow or other we want to enjoy matter. So we are spontaneously attracted to something that is harmful for us. Just like a person who...
Addiction.
Yeah, it's called addiction. Addiction is consuming... The addiction consumes the person who is addicted to. This substance that he is addicted to consumes him, devours him gradually. So this is what happens to us. Therefore, in the spiritual life, we are either we will be very dynamically advancing in Krishna consciousness, actively trying to develop the spiritual taste, the higher taste, or we'll be, even if we are like my friend here, Chow, who likes to use this analogy of a Plato. You climbing up a mountain and then you reach a relatively flat piece of land, and then you can relax for a while. You cannot stay on this plateau. Either we'll go down back to our material animalistic propensities, or we'll take the challenge and continue the spiritual quest. Okay, so forgetfulness of his real nature is the cause of his multifarious trouble. So this is the Adhikarana 3. Lesson 16. The living entity is born of spiritual nature, but it has a tendency to enjoy material nature. Lesson 17. The living entity and Godhead being qualitatively one are called Purusha, the enjoyer. And nature is enjoyed by them. Therefore, nature is called Prakriti. Lesson 18. Godhead is the real enjoyer, but the living entity is the conditional enjoyer of the modes of nature. So therefore, every one of us has a specific combination of material modes that he or she is attracted to. Certain combinations of the modes are leaving us very cold. We don't like them. What's happening? Fine. But certain combinations are very attractive, super attractive, and we are helplessly attracted if we don't have strong spiritual taste. Lesson 19. The real position of a living entity is therefore that of the enjoyed by Godhead, or the servitor of Godhead. Lesson 20. Forgetfulness of his real nature is the cause of his multifarious troubles. Then Adhikaranas 4, lessons 21 to 31. Godhead comes himself or sends his confidential servants to reclaim these forgetful living entities. So after Krishna has established the position, what is the Sambandha? Who are we? Who is he? What is his material nature? Then he explains how he deals with this situation. He doesn't let us rot in the material world. He wants to elevate us. Godhead comes himself or sends his confidential servants to reclaim these forgetful living entities. The forgetful living entities can know Godhead only if he explains himself or if he is explained by his confidential servants. But this is long Adhikaranas. Lesson 21. Godhead descends himself or sends his confidential servants to reclaim these forgetful conditioned souls. Lesson 22. No one can know Godhead unless he explains himself or he is explained by his confidential devotee. Lesson 23. His descent or so-called birth is different from that of any ordinary being. Lesson 24. Man's misidentification with material nature is a malady from which fearfulness is born. Otherwise, we would not be fearful because we are eternal. Actually, but if we are not convinced that we are eternal, or we may be convinced theoretically, okay, I'm eternal, that's fine, but I would like, while I'm in this material body, also the body to be taken care of well. So I enjoy nice material facilities in this lifetime, and then I go back home to Godhead. Krishna sometimes gives this type of benedictions. We can read in 10th canto. When Krishna enters his city, apparently for the first time, or not for the first time, he appears there. In Mathura, then he meets some of his devotees and he gives this type of blessings. You enjoy sense gratification, you enjoy wealth, sense power, and at the end of life, you go back home to God. About this blessing. Or when Dhruva Maharaj performs this his severe tapasya in the forest, then Krishna appears, and then, as we know, Dhruva Maharaj he feels very sorry that he had this material desire. By seeing the beauty of the Lord, he is completely satisfied. He doesn't want anything material anymore. Still, the Lord is very determined to give him whatever he wanted. And by the way, when Srila Prabhupada comments on this, he says that therefore we should not ask Krishna for material things. Otherwise, if we do, we will feel also very sorry, just like Dhruva Maharaj felt very sorry. And then, but still, Krishna told him, yes, I will, you asked for this boon, I will give it to you. It's my pleasure. This is my pastime, to fulfill the desires of my devotees. And Dhruva Maharaj said, no, but you give me this material boon, this kingdom that I want. But you will not give me prema. And Krishna told him, no, I will give you both. I'll give you a kingdom, I'll give you prema, everything. So the original point I was making was that, yes, sometimes we would like to have both. We're convinced, theoretically, I'm not the body. Still, while I'm in the body, Krishna, please make the situation comfortable. So, or somebody said once, somebody told me once. We pray to Nishingadev. Nishingadev, my dear Lord, please purify me, but gently, if possible, because sometimes the purification can be intense. Shy away from this. Yes.
So if we are asking for both, does that mean that actually we are convinced that we are the soul?
We might be convinced, but we haven't realized it yet. Apparently.
So intellectually we understand.
Intellectually we agree, yes.
But we don't have complete realization.
Yes. Because otherwise, why we would be concerned about the body so much? Of course, one can justify this. You can say, "Well, I need the body for service, etc." Yeah. So where are we? Lesson 20. 24. Yeah.
The kingdom that the Lord gave Dhruva Maharaj, it wasn't the kingdom of the earth, because he was already Manu's son, so he was due to get that by his own life. So what he wanted was something higher than Brahma, so he got the Dhruva Loka, which is spiritual.
Yeah.
So that was a nice advance.
Yeah.
Because the word Dhruva itself means fixed.
Mm.
And Dhruva,
well, therefore the pole star is fixed.
Yes, that's
therefore he went there.
That's why they circumambulate Dhruva.
Because he's fixed.
He's fixed. Yeah. So Dhruva, he didn't have any other desires in the whole universe. He left every desire he had except for one thing. And that's why he was given that one thing which is fixed. That's why it's called Dhruva.
Nice.
The Lord was very kind.
Thank you. Then lesson 24. Okay, no, we read this. Lesson 25. Man's attempt to get rid of fearfulness of survival by... Okay. Man's attempt to get rid of fearfulness of survival by work, knowledge, or mystic power is always backward. Lesson 26. Living entities seek happiness by serving another living entity, driven by a false desire for enjoyment. For two reasons, at least. One is that...
Although that says by serving another living entity,
yes.
don't they use another living entity?
Right.
Because it says for false desires for enjoyment.
Yeah.
It should be the opposite.
Well, sometimes Srila Prabhupada is, he uses this word serving, but actually the desire of the living entity is to enjoy, to control, to manipulate, to exploit. But you do this by, at least on the surface, by offering service. But actually you want something out of it. It's not selfless. Therefore, Prabhupada always says that this is the constitutional nature of the soul. Yes, the conditioned soul is serving the family, the society, humanity, etc. But it's not selfless service. So that means it's material. Yes, and also, even by serving another living entity, if this is not Krishna or pure devotee, then we will be disappointed because they cannot reciprocate properly. They are poor.
The verse, the Bhagavad-gītā verse it's referring to is those who are not so intelligent, so they approach a demigod.
Yeah.
So, and if you're even less intelligent, you approach just a person who happens to have what you want. So if you want to be rich, you find a rich person. And you sort of serve them. It means you're trying to manipulate them. But you want to know what they know because they have what you want. Mm-hmm. So that's what Srila Prabhupada means here by serving these others. Because you're trying to get what they have. But it's not intelligent at all. And then slightly intelligent, small intelligence, is then worshipping the demigods, because at least Krishna put them in charge of these things. So they can actually give these things to you. Whereas the person, not really. But then if you are very smart, as we learn in Bhagavad-gītā, men of more intelligence, whether you have all desires or no desires at all, or desire liberation, and you worship Krishna. You approach him.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So this is what he says. They're serving others.
Yeah.
They're also trying to exploit the others too, but they will go to someone who has what they want, and at least, try to learn from them.
So in other words, it's just not explained or written.
It's written correctly, but
you need an explanation to explain it.
yeah. Well, that's there because this is the outline. So then when we get to that, it'll be pointed out because the verse, in other words, the verse is given there.
Yes.
7:20, and that talks about that. So it's written right, and then because Srila Prabhupada wrote it, so it's always right. And then to know more about it, completely understand it, then we go into the actual part of the study that goes further explained.
We'll go there. Thank you. Lesson 27. When God descends, fools consider him an ordinary man. Lesson 28. Only those who are addicted to sinful or unlawful acts, only such foolish men of demonic principles do not want to serve God. 7:15. Lesson 29. Only those who are law-abiding, faithful men revive their God consciousness when they are in difficulty, in need of money, inquisitive, or aspiring for knowledge. So these are the 4 kinds of pious men. Lesson 30. God consciousness, which is transcendental, is never revived by dint of work, knowledge, or mystic power. It can only be revived by devotion service. In other words, like Śāstra-caksusa Year explains in Madhura Kadambini, there is only one reason for bhakti, and this is bhakti. Bhakti leads to bhakti. Bhakti causes bhakti. Bhakti doesn't arise from piety or from study of the Veda, from any other reason. That means because usually only the Madhyama devotees preach. They are the preachers. The Uttama devotees, they don't preach because they don't see the need to preach. Some of them do, like Narada Muni. He's obviously also the Uttama devotee who enjoys spreading the mercy, but usually they don't. And the Kanishta devotees, they don't preach. They don't qualify. So who is preaching then? The Madhyama devotees. So that means, although they are not on the highest level, but they do the preaching work. That means Krishna gives the power of bhakti to them, and by their preaching work, by mercy of Krishna, the Guru, they are actually spreading bhakti. Therefore, the first offense against the holy name is to blaspheme the Madhyama devotees, the preachers. Of course, it's offense to blaspheme the Uttama devotees, but it means specifically the preachers, because by offending them, we offend the mercy of God, which comes through them. And Śāstra-caksusa Year explains that when the preacher is out there in the preaching field, and there are many people, and he has to make a choice. He cannot approach all of them. He has to choose some. And then whoever he chooses, Krishna's Shakti goes with him. Krishna leaves to him to choose. He doesn't interfere with this. Okay, my devotee chose this person. Okay, I will support my devotee by giving this person mercy. So therefore, the Madhyama devotees are very special. Sometimes we think, unless he is Parama Prasthasaki, Uttamadhikari, Nitya Real Pravishta, he's just an ordinary guy. But the mercy, Krishna's mercy flows through these devotees, although they might not be on the highest level. Right? So, for this. Okay, lesson 31. No one is barred from approaching Godhead. Simply by willing to approach Him, one becomes purified at once. simply by willing to approach Krishna, one becomes purified at once. Okay, then Adhikarana 5. These are lessons 32 to 37. The confidential servants of Godhead explain that any man can attain to transcendental logic service of Godhead by his own occupation. So again, somebody might ask, well, this is Sambandha, supposed to be Sambandha Jnana. Here we're talking already about application, about Avideya. Isn't this supposed to be in the second part? So Prabhupada put it here in the Sambandha. So we have to find a good reason for this. We cannot just say, well, maybe he made a mistake. This is, no. We have to tax our brain to understand how Srila Prabhupada and the Acharyas are right. And in doing this, we will expand our own limited understanding. So Prabhupada put this here because, as we mentioned before, Sambandha includes the knowledge of Vidya and Prayojana. Otherwise, we will not be given the full information. But then, applying this knowledge in the practical life, this is what strictly is called Avidya, the application. When you perform devotional service, of course, it's always performed with knowledge. But the general information is given already in Sambandha. The knowledge about the relationship, the method, and the goal is already spelled out very clearly. So this one way we can try to understand why Srila Prabhupada put these lessons here. Then lesson 32. The four castes are scattered all over the universe according to acquired qualities of the modes of nature. The four castes are scattered all over the universe according to acquired qualities of the modes of nature. That means these castes are universal. They are everywhere in the universe. We read about this in Bhagavad-gītā, in the description of 5th canto, the description of the different parts of the Bhumandala. The different castes, the four castes are known by different names, but they are the same by nature. So that means they're also here on these planets. And they are not just some Hindu tradition. They exist everywhere, even outside of India, but they are not scientifically understood, and not the knowledge about their identity and their duty is not understood and is not applied properly. Otherwise, they are there. Lesson 33, the Brahmanas, the Kshatriyas, the Vaishyas, the Shudras. Lesson 34, any man can attain to transcendental loving service of Godhead by his own occupation. Lesson 35, only under transcendental modes can the ordinary fruity fruiters, salvationists, and mystics also attain to Godhead. So here's the balance. Any man can attain to transcendental loving service. Any man, all of those forecasts. And then Srila Prabhupada makes the statement, but this is possible only under transcendental modes. This can be. So that means the guru, the leader, he has to be established in pure consciousness. He has to be transcendental. Then only he can elevate all of these different people from all these positions. Lesson 36, the result of work is to satisfy material needs. The result of knowledge is to attain salvation, and the result of mysticism is to see the all-pervading Godhead in his localized aspect. All this can be attained indirectly by transcendental loving service. Okay, let's read this again. The result of work is to satisfy material needs. The result of knowledge is to attain salvation, and the result of mysticism is to see the all-pervading Godhead in his localized aspect. All this can be attained indirectly by transcendental loving service. Indirectly here meaning you will attain the fruit of this. There is no need to go through all these different processes. Just by performing bhakti, you attain the the goal of all these processes, just like Krishna explains in Bhagavad-gītā. Vedeshu Yadgeshu Tapasku Chaiva Dhaneshu Yad Punya Palam Pratistam Atyatitat Sarvam Idam Viditva Yogi Param Stam Chadyam. The yogi is not bereft of the results of study of the Vedas, giving charity, performing sacrifices. He attains all of this just by performing bhakti, but he attains also something higher, exceptional, that these people don't attain. This is Yogi Param Sthana, the highest abode he attains. Then lesson 37, in all scriptures, therefore, the only aim is how to attain Sri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this is the conclusion of this section. Krishna explains in, so Prabhupada is quoting 411 here. He's referring to 411. 411 is Vitra. Oh, this is 410. And I'll also connect it with Krishna explains that I am, by all the Vedas I am to be known. Because this is a strong statement. In all scriptures, therefore, the only aim is how to attain Shri Krishna. By all scriptures, Krishna says in Gita, in 15. What was the verse? Vedasya Sarva. Yes, Vedasya Sarva. Yes, thank you. Vedasya Sarva Aham Evavedya. It's a big statement. Srila Prabhupada has been criticized for this type of statements by different people because he presents bhakti as the conclusion of all different chapters, all different statements of Krishna in Bhagavad-gītā. Sometimes it doesn't look like Krishna talks directly about bhakti, but Srila Prabhupada, knowing Krishna very well because he's Krishna's dear friend, he's Krishna's very intimate devotee. Let's not specify what kind of Krishna knows, Srila Prabhupada knows Krishna. He knows his intent. Just like if you are a close friend to somebody, you know the intent of this person. So you can say, he actually means this. It doesn't mean that. So in all scriptures, the goal of all scriptures is to understand Krishna. Therefore, no matter what type of scripture we study, whether it is astrology or Vastu, Ayurveda, Natya Shastra, all the Vedas, all the scriptures are built, are designed in such a way that they can lead you ultimately to Krishna, to the goal of all scriptures. The scriptures will take any person from any level of consciousness. Therefore, there are so many scriptures because the Vedas accommodate all types of persons, but they lead everyone, if he is sincere, honest, true seeker of the absolute truth, they will lead this person to Krishna. Then, Adhikarana 6, is this the last one? Yes. Lessons 38 to 46. This is possible. What is possible? Do you remember?
Serves to God by his own occupation.
Right. So, the confidential servants of Godhead, this is the previous Adhikarana, explain that any man can attain to transcendental holy service of Godhead by his own occupation. And then, this is possible because Godhead is both immanent, impersonal, and transcendent. Immanent and transcendental, maybe. It's supposed to be. Personal. So here, the point is that by any occupation, we can attain Godhead, we can attain Krishna. But how is this possible? This is possible because Krishna is simultaneously all-pervading. He enters all these occupations that we perform. in a sense, because he gives the rules, the principles of their proper performance, right? So he's everywhere. And at the same time, he's transcendent, he's beyond, he's in Lokundana. So he gives the way how to attain him, and he's the ultimate goal that has to be attained. So if he's only all-pervading, then there's nothing to attain, because we impersonalists, we are him. And if he's only transcendent, this is the philosophy of deism, deistic, not theism, deism. That means that Krishna is completely transcendental. God has nothing to do with this world. He is unapproachable. He never comes here because he's pure, uncontaminated. He doesn't have anything to do with this material nature. In other words, there is no way you can actually connect with him. This is the other extreme. But now Krishna is all-pervading, and at the same time he is above everything. And this is explained in Bhagavad-gītā. Pashyami Yogamashvaryam, Krishna explains in 9th chapter. Behold my mystic opulence. I am situated
neutral.
As a neutral, and I'm Udasina Bhakta. But I am everywhere, but I am also not part of this creation. Then, lesson 38. Godhead is both impersonal and impersonal. Lesson 39. Ordinary man without knowledge of the Supreme Godhead, Shri Krishna, worship many others who are but materially empowered beings in order to achieve quick success in their aspirations. Lesson 40. The presence of Godhead is perceived impersonally in the material world, but he is manifested in person in the spiritual world. Lesson 41. In the material world, the Lord is present impersonally, as described in Bhagavad-gītā. In the spiritual world, he is personally present, first as Paramatma, then as Bhagavan in the transcendental world. Lesson 43. In the spiritual world, the Absolute Personality extends himself as many personalities. Lesson 44. Only the self-realized souls can see the Absolute Personality of Godhead when he descends by his internal potency. Lesson 45. The Archamurti is a transcendental and identical representation of the Absolute Personality of Godhead for the benefit of those conditioned souls who want to approach Godhead. Lesson 46. Matter is not therefore the ultimate cause of the universe. The ultimate creator is the powerful, while the material world is the power only. So this is the end of the Sambandha section of the Srila Prabhupada's analysis. So we went through all the lessons, and we saw how they are grouped in different Adhikaranas. And now we will try to explain how the Adhikaranas that we just learned about are connected to the Dashamula Tattva. So Dashamula Tattva, Dasha means 10, Mula means root or essential truth. This is the work of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, where he summarizes the Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophy, the philosophy of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And in this book, he explains that all this Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophy can be summarized in 10 points. These are 10 points. So they are Amnaya Prachatattvam Harimiha Paramam Sarva Shaktim Sabdim Tad Dinam Samshivan Prakriti Kavalitam Tad Vinuktam Shabhavat Bheda Bheda Prakasham Sakalam Apihare Sadavam Shudavatim Sadyam Tad Priti Upadishti Gyanam Chandra Gyanam Gaurachandras Swayam Saha. So that means, so first Adhikarana says, so now we're back to the analysis of Gita. The first Adhikarana says, all living entities are eternal and subordinate to Godhead. And then Adhikarana 2 says, the material nature is subordinate to Godhead. So, Chitta Chit Ishvara. Ishvara is the controller, Chit and Chit, the soul and the material energy are servants of God. And Dashanamurti Tattva explains, we just quoted this. Amnaya Praha Tattvam Harimiha. The Vedas are, so first Amnaya, the Vedas are the principal spiritual evidence, which in turn expounds the following 9 principles. So first we start with the Pramana, what is the proof? If you want to establish something, there should be basis on which you prove something. So what is the basis? What is the proof? What is our Pramana?
Veda.
Shabda, the Veda. So the Vedas are the principal scriptural evidence, which in turn expounds the following 9 principles. So on the basis of Pramana, we established Prameya, what is to be proven. So these are 9 points. First, Krishna is the supreme absolute truth. Amaya Praha Tattvam Harim Parama. So Krishna is omnipotent. This is the third. Harim Paramam, omnipotent. Sarva Shaktim. He is the fountainhead of all relationship with God. Sarva Shaktim Rasabdim. So Krishna is omnipotent. He is the fountainhead of all relationship with God. And the living entities are his separated parts and parcels. Then Adhikarana 3.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
In the Bhagavad-gītā, we hear the story of Narada Muni. Vyasadeva was dissatisfied after writing the Vedas. And Narada explained to him, as you know, of course, that his dissatisfaction was because he hadn't correctly explained the rightful position of the Godhead, etc. But here we're hearing that the Vedas. Do you think back to this specifically to the Bhagavad-gītā?
No, I don't.
Rather than the Vedas. I mean, the Bhagavad-gītā is part of the Vedas.
Yeah.
However, it seems to be specific to us.
Vedasya Sarvara Hameva Vedya. So by all the Vedas, the ultimate goal of all the Vedas is to understand Krishna. So some people will be able to understand Krishna directly from Bhagavatam. For some people,
Now you mentioned by this work you've done, you'll lead people to heaven on behalf of your instructions, etc.
Therefore, he instructed Vyasadeva to present also Bhagavatam. So this is the ultimate conclusion. And now everything else that has been described in the Vedas has the proper balance in pure devotion service, which is the ultimate goal. So they're supposed to be working in it's supposed to be teamwork. And therefore one of the offenses against the holy name is to blaspheme Shruti and Smriti. And some people do that. Some people say that we don't accept. We just accept only basically. What do you accept? Rasa Lila dance from Bhagavatam. That's some people say Bhagavad-gītā is. There were such people in ISKCON who were saying that when anytime I read Bhagavad-gītā, I feel I'm in Maya. You're supposed to read only about Rasa Lila and all these intimate pastimes.
People say that?
They used to. Maybe even now, but before. I mean, there's the famous Gopi Baba Club back in the Prabhupada's time.
But that's been proved to be a lie. That whole thing was a lie. There's people within that group who tell the truth.
But I mean, in principle, we have to be careful because the Vedas are they're the breathing of Narayana. So Vyasadeva, Narada Muni made his point to Vyasadeva, just like when a sannyasi guru comes to his Grihastha disciple, and the Grihastha disciples sometimes they want to present the Krishna consciousness. I mean, could be also brahmachari disciple. Don't take me wrong, I'm not going into this. But usually the gurus, the spiritual leaders, they want Krishna consciousness to be presented as direct as possible. And sometimes the followers, we try to present it in an indirect way because we are not comfortable or whatever, for whatever reasons. And then Narada Muni told him, no, this is not real preaching. Real preaching is you have to present the full glory of the pure devotional service repeatedly, again and again, exclusively. You haven't done this yet. Therefore, you're dissatisfied. This doesn't mean that the Vedas are useless now. He was making a point and has been taken and has been corrected. But he didn't, the Vedas haven't been cancelled because of this point. You want to say?
I can if you want. No, I'm touching my eye. But I can.
Yeah. Yeah. Because.
Yeah, I'm really passionate about that conversation between ours and the because it's a very important thing. And the main issue, because Narada Muni at first he was glorifying all of his work, you know, but then he saw that he was still dissatisfied, and then he went and called the Jugupsita. So the idea was that the reason he was despondent is because even though he had the intention to bring everyone back to Krishna, even those in the deepest depths of illusion, right, and he was successful in bringing them quite high, but then since there were so many concessions that go along with the philosophy, because there's philosophy, but if someone's in the deepest, darkest well, you have to give them some concessions, otherwise they won't listen to you. So you say, okay, well, you want to enjoy, okay, but you just do it this way, right? And if you enjoy in this way, then gradually you'll start to understand, you know. And so it was pointed out that these concessions, people are just going to take those concessions and they're not going to worry about the philosophical parts, right? So they'll become distracted. And then so the idea was that, what are you giving those who actually are convinced now? Okay, they've gone through this process wherever they came from, now they're at this level. Now what do? Right? Just give them just the essence, just bhakti. And so then that's where our Bhagavad-gītā comes from, as follows from. So there's no concessions or, okay, yeah, you want to do this, at least do it. There's none of that. This is just direct bhakti, right? So not everyone can just read that. You know, most of us have at least some level of attachment where we need to deal with that first, right? And so the way Srila Prabhupada presents Bhagavad-gītā to us is actually, he lets us deal with that also while we're also learning about the topics. Right? So he's sort of giving us these other aspects. But this is definitely describing all Vedas. It goes through these points because that's what it wants to lead us to. And it's just, you know, one way is a very long but necessary way, you know, like if someone only has their feet, they don't have a bicycle, you're going to tell them to get from point A to point B in a very specific way. But if they have other facilities, then they can go in an easier way. So it's all about where you're coming from and then what tools you have, what tools you accept. You know, if you don't want to accept these other tools, these higher tools, okay, fine, then you can use these. So the Vedas has to be vast. But the point of the Vedas is always to bring one to Krishna, whether it's really gradually or really rapidly. But yeah, it follows. It's just a matter of you most likely will get distracted because if your tendency is to enjoy, you're only going to be focused on the enjoyment part of it. So you make very slow progress because at least now you're enjoying according to Krishna's rules, right? But it's very slow progress unless you actually catch on that, oh, the reason this is working is because I'm actually connecting it to this higher power. Whether or not, you know, it's a person, maybe you just understand the Brahman aspect. At least if you can start appreciating that and start accepting other things that are more direct. And then gradually you can even appreciate that impersonal power that everything comes from is also within, so you get to start meditating, right? So gradually you come to these realizations, but we understand that all three of those aspects are coming from the person, right? So we have this added benefit where, as we're working through our attachments, we understand it's Krishna the person. So it's easier for us to stay attracted to him and really kindle that faith. Whereas if we're going through the slow way and we're just seeing it as this embodied energy that we all came from, it's going to take a bit longer.
I remember the verse Narada Muni mentioned that Vyasadeva hadn't established Krishna as the goal and the supreme person. He mentioned those aspects.
It's very interesting conversation. I just remembered now a few things because Church was bringing back this conversation. So Narada Muni told Vyasadeva that you think that they will, if you present it in very direct way, they will reject it. But don't think like this. Some will reject it, some will accept it because they're ready for it. And there was back and forth, the conversation is going on. The Acharya explained that Vyasadeva tried to defend himself in a sense. He said that, well, but I actually did present the glory of Krishna. And he quoted a few examples here in this Purana, in this Mahabharata, in Bhagavad-gītā. And Vyasadeva said, yeah, but Narada Muni said, yeah, but you haven't done this repeatedly. It's just isolated.
Decisive.
Right. And then he said, but I presented the absolute truth in the Vedanta Sutra. And Narada Muni said, but I consider this the Vedanta Sutra deficient. Because you are the Acharya of this Vedanta Sutra, you're the author, and you are desperate, right? You're depressed. So what about these people that are going to study your book? If you, the guru, if you are depressed, then despondent, then what about your disciples? And what Śāstra-caksusa said is very interesting because it's through our philosophy, it's the whole Vedic presentations, and Vedanta being the fullest and the most the proper way to understand the Vedas, Vedanta, the end of the Vedas, the final conclusion. It is simultaneously very broad and very liberal, and therefore there are so many Vedic literatures, and at the same time the goal and the ultimate conclusion is very clear and uncompromising. We have both. It's amazing. Usually people are either liberals or they're conservatives, but we have both. Therefore, we don't have problem accommodating all kinds of philosophies. For example, in Bhagavad-gītā, there is a description of the universal form, and it is explained there that it is actually illusory concept. It doesn't really exist. It's not transcendental form. But if you are so attached to it, if this is the highest understanding of reality that you can fathom, then you can use it to understand Krishna. You can start from there, or from wherever level you are. Srila Prabhupada told one person who was addicted to drink wine. Prabhupada told him, "You, while drinking wine, you think that Krishna is the taste of the wine, and then if you do this, you become the greatest yogi, even from this level." So this is the meaning of these two Adhikaranas that we pointed out. Krishna is all-pervading, and he is also transcendent. So this is how this refers to the Vedanta philosophy. It is all encompassing, and at the same time is very exact and clear.
Devotees of Prabhupada, our generation of devotees that sprung up, we only really know the Vedas through the Bhagavad-gītā. There's not so many of us that know any other sections, and there are many. So we're really quite biased. Everything we speak is basically Bhagavad-gītā.
I would use fortunate instead of biased.
I mean, if you're in love with somebody, that means you're biased. But it's okay because we're trying to be in love with the best person. So
there's a verse that the sages asked Sutta Goswami. And that verse says that, please speak to us because you're the most learned elderly Vedantist. And you know all the sections of Vedas except some. And those are the ones, maybe Kama Sutra, some his brahmacharya, no doubt, these kind of things. So he didn't even know those ones. So we don't even look anywhere near all the other sections.
What is the verse? As all purposes served by
Tahan Sarveshu.
Served by the rest.
Right. Tahan Sarveshu Vedishu. Brahmanas, Jananas, Brahmanas. Yes, because you have a wealth, some pukur for washing the dishes, then you have another one for washing clothes, you have another one for diti parfenere. But if you have a big one, then you can do all these things there because it's too big. The water is always clean there. That's the idea. All right, so then Adhikarana 3, lessons 16 to 20. The living entity is born of spiritual nature, but it has the tendency to enjoy material nature. Forgetfulness of his real nature is the cause of his multifarious trouble. This third Adhikarana is confirmed in the Dashamula Tattva as follows. The living entity, due to his constitutional situation, as the marginal energy, may come under the sway of the material energy. Tad binam samscha jivan, prakriti kavalitam muktam shubha. Adhikarana 4, lessons 21 to 31. Godhead comes himself or sends his confidential servants to reclaim these forgetful living entities. The forgetful living entities can know Godhead only if he explains himself or if he is explained by his confidential servants. And Adhikarana 5, the confidential servants of Godhead explain that any man can attain to transcendental loving service of Godhead by his own occupation. So these two Adhikaranas are summarized in Dashamula Tattva. Again, due to his marginal nature, the living entity in the liberated condition is free of the influence of material nature. Free or can be freed, can be liberated if he is conditioned. And the last one. This is possible because Godhead is both immanent and transcendental. Adhikarana 6 is confirmed in Dashamula Tattva. The living entity and everything in this material cosmos is simultaneously one and different from the Supreme Lord Krishna. Okay. So this next section we will skip. We won't go there. It's too technical.
Yes, a question.
Yes. Yes.
In this English translation, I just understand. It says this is possible because the Godhead is both immanent.
Mm-hmm.
So when is immanent meant impossible?
In the sense that Krishna is all-pervading, and that some impersonalists, they say that if he is all-pervading, that means he has lost his personal existence.
So the English word immanent doesn't mean impersonal. If you look at any dictionary, you won't find that.
So we're taking it a little broader sense. That,
okay, changing the meaning.
connecting with.
Because impersonal means something very different. Immanent means right away, and it has to happen. It's definitely going to happen.
But you understand that concept? He's everywhere, all-pervading.
Yeah, I understand he's all-pervading.
He's right there, like he's here everywhere.
Yeah, immanent. I just looked up. It says of God permanently pervading and sustaining the universe. That's
Permanently pervading and sustaining the universe. So that's what we mean. But the impersonalists say he's only that. He's only here, like pantheists.
Yeah.
But he has no transcendental existence beyond this world.
Otherwise, it can mean inherent or innate.
So this next section, we will not go there because it's rather technical and it has to do with Panchanga Nyaya. And honestly speaking, because we prepared this study many years ago, after going through it several times, we found out that it's kind of forced on the Prabhupada's statements. We tried to put them in the Panchanga Nyaya, and sometimes it worked well, sometimes it was kind of, okay, put it in the box. should be here, should be
Take the page.
But it has certain value in it, therefore we left it there. Because we'll go through it a little later when we are more familiar with the Panchanga. Because it has good points, and it follows the Govinda Bhashya system used by Baladev Vibhushan. It follows this logic. So it's good to stay, but we'll not go through the whole thing. Next time,
just the confusion between immanent and imminent.
Yeah.
Imminent comes from immediately, which is imminent with an I. This is immanent, which is a different word.
Oh, immanent.
Yeah.
Oh, sir.
So it's a different word, so it does actually. But they're commonly confused because they're pronounced the same. One day, one day.
Very nicely said.
Sorry.
Yeah, well, thank you for this clarification. And then from the next time, I'll try to speak a little bit on Panchanga, just to explain that again. We have spoken about this many times, but just to remind everyone to be on the same page. And then we'll start with the extra-study, going through all these lessons, all these Adhikaranas, and reading from Prabhupada's purports. And while diving into the details, trying to remember the principle also, that we are in the Sambandha section, and we are dealing with, for example, in this lesson 1, the constitution of all living entities as part of the Chitta Chitta Ishvara principle, which is part of the Sambandha, which is part of the thematic study of Gita. Okay, this for next time. Questions or comments? Everything's clear?
So tomorrow we'll start on 20, page 20.
Mm-hmm. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Samavita Bhakti ki jai. Nitai Gaur.